A warm greetings to everyone. Agriculture Makers in Mission IBPS AFO welcomes you to this video. And in this video, we are going to see the NABARD bankable project on white-legged shrimp. And this is one of the important and very much interesting topic to deal with. And come on, let's get into the video. And firstly, it is the introduction part. Shrimp farming in India, that is up to 2009, is only dealt with the monoculture of tiger shrimp, that is Penis monodon. After that, during 1995, this tiger shrimp has been very much affected by white spot syndrome virus, and so that this culture has been stagnant, and most of the Southeast Asian countries like Thai, Vietnam, Indonesia were also culturing this monodon, and since 2001 to 2 onwards they have shifted to the exotic shrimp which is named white-legged shrimp, that is Lithopenis vaname, because of its availability of specific pathogen free and specific pathogen resistant, that is SPF and SPR broodstock. And in India, pilot scale this introduction of this white-legged shrimp has been initiated in 2003, and after that it has been permitted in India for culture in 2009. And next to this, coming to the biology, this white-legged shrimp is a native of Mexico and Central and South America as far as Peru, and it is mainly found on the mud bottoms down to a depth of 75 meters, and it is commonly known as Mexican shrimp or white-legged shrimp. It is grayish white in color. The maximum weight of females is wild about 120 gram and male is very much smaller, that is 60 to 80 gram. It is a column liver and prefers clay loam soil. You have to keep all those in mind. It is a column liver and prefers clayey loam soil, and females are weyer than males, and it lives up to a depth of 75 meter, and it is grayish white in color. Coming to the growth parameter, for this Mexican shrimp, the growth at 30 degrees centigrade is much higher than 25 degrees centigrade. But 30 to 34 degrees centigrade is found to be good for its growth. But at 20 degrees centigrade, it virtually stops growing, which means it requires higher temperature. It can tolerate salinity up to 50 parts per trillion, but the normal salinity level for growth is 10 to 40 ppt, but below 10 ppt the growth is found to be slower, which means it is showing a lesser growth rate in fresh water, and the pH range is said to be 7 to 9, but optimal growth has been seen at pH 8, that is it requires salinity and also a higher pH for its growth. Dissolved oxygen levels above 4.5 ppm is required for its optimal growth. Turbid water with flocculated particles of more than 0.5 micron resuited is better than the clear water because of the presence of algae and bacteria. Because of the presence of algae and bacteria, it grows well when compared to the clean water. Ammonia N and nitrate N levels should be less than 0.1 ppm and 1 ppm respectively. It means ammonia should be less than 0.1 ppm and nitrate should be less than 1 ppm. This white-legged shrimp is an omnivorous scavenger, and it is less aggressive and less carnivorous when compared to that tiger shrimp. And next to this, food intake is more during evening and night when compared to daytime. Retention time of food in the gut is said to be 2.2 to 5 hours. Growth of this Mexican shrimp under confined culture conditions is similar to that of that tiger shrimp till they attain 20 gram size. Beyond that, the growth rate was poor. So, the shrimps with 20 gram size in the period of 100 to 120 days is very suitable for marketing And next to this, the culture of this white-legged shrimp is taken up because the advantages are very much when compared to this tiger shrimp, and the advantages includes it grows as fast as the tiger shrimp up to 20 gram, and it is easy to culture at a higher stocking density of 150 per square meter as it is less aggressive in nature. It is tolerant to a wide range of salinity between zero point 0.5 to 45 parts per trillion. It is tolerant to lower temperatures up to 15 degrees centigrade. It requires a comparatively low protein feed, that is 20 to 35 percentage only. It is an easy to breed species, and hence domestication of the species is very much successful due to the commercial availability of SPF and SPR and healthy stock, and selective breeding work for the production of SPR brood stock is easier because of the short generation period and easier captive breeding, and also the survival rate is very high, that is 50 to 60% in case of the hatchery, and has a very good market in US as the most preferred species with a higher meat yield of 66 to 68 percentage. Coming to the disadvantages, it is highly susceptible to and a carrier of TSV, WSSV, and these are all viruses. Though the SPF stocks are available for these viruses, the performance of this in the virus laden environment is doubtful. And WSSV is prevalent in the country, and its infectivity and pathogenicity of this Mexican shrimp is similar to that of the tiger shrimp. And this white-legged shrimp is being cultured in very high densities under intensive management, which might lead to environment problems like nutrient loading. It is highly susceptible to hypoxic conditions, and hence there is a need for continuous aeration during high density farming. And next to this, handling, processing and transporting are more difficult in white-legged shrimp compared to that tiger shrimp. There is high competition in the international market due to the worldwide production. Coming to the specific pathogen free stock, this white-legged shrimp is highly susceptible to a number of viral pathogens including WSSV, TSV, YHV, and then IHHNV, all those viruses. In order to eliminate the presence of viruses, SPF stock have been produced. Even though this SPF shrimp are tolerant to those viral diseases, they are affected by a number of unknown pathogens, which makes complication in the culture of this white-legged shrimp. But one of the main advantages of culturing this shrimp is it is commercially available when compared to that tiger shrimp. Coming to the biosecurity requirements of the shrimp farms, stocking of pathogen free post larvae alone will not guarantee a disease free culture, but there are a number of ways they enter into the culture, and this way includes they persist in the soil, and they can also enter through the water. Also, aquatic vectors introduced through intake water, also by crabs and other animals, also they'll enter the stock. Contaminated land animals and birds are said to be a inoculant for these viral diseases, and also contaminated farm inputs and farm implements also will spread the disease. And crabs are one of the major carriers of viral pathogens, and providing crab fencing in shrimp farms is considered as one of the important biosecurity measure. And carriers like crabs can also move from pond to pond over land barriers. To prevent such movement, fencing of 0.5 meter plastic sheet should be provided. Birds such as crow or water pick up the dead shrimps affected with viral disease from one pond and may drop it in the unaffected pond, and this will also spread the disease. This could be avoided by using bird scares and bird fences. Okay. Coming to the technical parameters, Farm design requirements includes, as this white-legged shrimp is a column liver, we have to increase the depth of the farm. Generally, the tiger shrimp requires a water depth of only 1 meter, but in case of this white-legged shrimp, we have to give at least a depth of 1.5 meter to 1.8 meter for its better growth and development. Next, mechanical aeration is said to be important in case of this culture due to the higher stocking densities. So, constant circulation of water is expected in this pond. But a disadvantage in this is constant circulation leads to erosion of soil in the dike and bottom. So, compacting is important, and also in intensive culture ponds, total lining of the pond with HDPE sheets is also done. Next, in high density culture systems, accumulation of sludge is said to be a major problem, and therefore, provision of a central drainage or use of sludge pump is essential. Positioning of paddle wheel or long arm aerator aids in bringing the sludge at the center from where it can be removed. Next, biosecurity requirements like reservoir ponds, fencing, crab fencing, bird fencing, disinfections, all those facilities should be provided while construction. To avoid disease, in major cases, zero water exchange system of farming practice is practiced with recirculation facilities, that is zero water exchange system along with recirculation facilities should be provided. In such cases, more than 40% of the water area in the farm is allocated for reservoirs and waste sediment ponds. Remember this percentage, it is 40%, and the methodology is zero water exchange system along with recirculation. Okay. Coming to the management of the farm, drying and liming. The sludge left in the pond may have the remains of the previous virus outbreak, and it contains high organic load bacteria, virus particles, and also this should be removed to prevent the persistence of viral diseases. And this could be achieved by the application of burnt lime, that is calcium oxide, at the rate of 100 ppm, followed by exposure to the sunlight until drying. And the cracking and removal of the topsoil and compacting the bottom soil is very much important. Okay, it is 100 ppm of calcium oxide or burnt lime is used for the removal of these viral particles. Coming to water management, it has been reported that the shrimp is a free living one up to 7 days. Remember, up to 7 days it is a free living one. Direct use of creek or seawater carries the risk of introducing virus into the system. This is because a number of other aquatic organisms could be mechanical carriers because of their filter feeding habit. Remember, and there is a need to eliminate this from water because we are going to use this in the culture ponds. So we have to use 60 micron mesh or square centimeter filter net in the delivery or inlet pumps, and water should be taken in the reservoir and treated with calcium hypochlorite at 30 ppm. Before we have seen calcium oxide at 100 ppm, here it is calcium hypochlorite at 30 ppm and aged up to 7 days. That is, we have to stagnate up to 7 days to eliminate the viral pathogens. Next, farmers should ensure that treated water be used in the culture ponds for compensating the evaporation losses. Regular water exchange is not advised to avoid cross contamination pathogens from the source water. Remember, regular water exchange is not advised. Okay, coming to the fertilization and addition of carbon source, culture of this white-legged shrimp can be done under two systems, that is with plankton as a natural feed or with bacterial flock. Okay, the fertilization schedule with urea and superphosphate is followed for plankton development, while provision of carbon source in the form of molasses and dolomite is used for development of bacterial flock. Remember, In case of plankton, we are using urea and superphosphate, but in case of bacterial flock, we are using molasses and dolomite for this carbon sources. And next, the volume of biofloc was controlled at 15 ml per liter. You have to remember all those things. Next, coming to stocking, SPF shrimp seed from a reputed approved hatchery must be used. PL8 to PL9 is normally selected after ensuring the pathogen free status of the seed, PL8 and PL9. The seed acclimatization is a very important requirement before stocking. Temperature, salinity, and pH of the transportation water should gradually brought to the level of the pond by mixing it with over a period of 6 to 12 hours. Remember, 6 to 12 hours depending on the difference. Okay, stocking densities of 40 to 60 numbers per square meter is preferred. Higher stocking densities above 60 number per square meter is not permitted. You have to remember this. And then coming to the feed management, the protein requirement varies between 25 to 40 percentage. Marine source protein was more effective than plant source, and then the lipid requirement is 6 to 8% with 2% marine unsaturated fatty acid and 0.25 to 0.4% of cholesterol, and then feeding rate is between 6.6 to 16% for 1 gram shrimp, whereas it is reduced to 2% for 15 gram shrimp. Okay, and the feeding rate is 2 to 6 times in a day, but maximum feeding should be done at evening and night. Check trays can also be used to monitor the feed consumption, and the expected feed conversion ratio is said to be 1.1 to 1.4. Okay, coming to the maintenance of water quality, regular monitoring is very much important, and DO levels are recorded at least 2 times a day. That is, dissolved oxygen level should be recorded at least 2 times a day. Other parameters like nitrate, calcium, ammonia also monitored on a weekly basis, and DO level should be above 4 ppm, and then aeration should be given as and when required. Number of aerators required is about 1 HP per every 300 kg of mass. That is, per every 300 kg of mass 1 HP of aerator is required. The location of the aerator should be adjusted in such a way that sedimentation occur at the center of the pond, which will helps in easy removal. Okay. Then removal of sludge from the pond bottom during culture is essential in case of high density. Aerators are positioned in such a way that the sludge should be accumulated at the center of the pond from where it is removed using that sludge pumps. Okay. To aid in this process, sludge settled in other places should be disturbed regularly. Okay. This is achieved through dragging of chains at the bottom at regular intervals on all sides of the ponds. Coming to health management, weekly monitoring of shrimp for growth and well being is essential. It normally grows at a rate of, remember it is important, 0.2 gram per day after the first 30 days. Weekly growth rate will range between 1.5 to 2 grams depending on the stocking density. At 16 numbers per meter square, shrimps attain 20 gram size within 100 to 120 days. That is, the duration is 100 to 120 days, where it reach 20 gram size at the rate of 16 numbers per meter square, and the growth rate will be 1.5 to 2 gram. Coming to the harvest and post harvest things, it is a column living shrimp, and hence maximum stock can be harvested either by cast nets or dragging net, and this will help in harvesting without overcrowding. Final harvesting by draining the water should be done within 6 hours. Remember, it is 6 hours. Compared to this tiger shrimp, Mexican shrimp discolors faster if there is any delay in icing the harvested stock. Hence, the stock should be ice killed immediately after harvest and stored on ice. Coming to the cost of production, under Indian conditions, the cost of production is 150 to 160 rupees for production levels of 8 to 10 tons per hectare. The average size at harvest ranges from 20 to 25 gram, and the sale price is more or less same for both a tiger and this white-legged shrimp, that is 200 to 220 per kg, and the profit margin is very high. Even if only 50% of the area will be utilized for grow out, it is beneficial than that tiger shrimp. Okay, coming to the conclusion, this white-legged shrimp is a suitable species for a semi-intensive culture with the availability of pathogen-free seed stock. The major issues are the biosecurity reasons and also the maintenance of water quality. It also requires higher technical knowledge to achieve higher production in a sustainable manner. Strict adherence to the guidelines of Coastal Aquaculture Authority is a must to ensure environmental protection. And with this, the video ends. Keep supporting us and do subscribe our channel. Thank you for all your support and cooperation.